Hey guys, welcome back to the Bread Brothers. We are back again. We're here with another awesome guest, which is Jason, and he's from Crypto Roadshow. We're going to learn all about events happening here in Australia. But before I do, I'd like to introduce you to my lovely co-host, Susanna. How you doing, Susanna?
We're doing really well, super busy, planning my wedding in Sydney at the moment, but I can't complain about the weather. So that's about that. How are you doing, Edie?
Yeah, good. I'm so excited about your wedding. It's such a, speaking about events, I think you might take away something from this as well, Susanna, about events, and Jason can probably teach you. I don't know if you're into the wedding side of things, Jason, but hey.
No, I not really a wedding planner, mate. It's a different thing. So
we're in the bear market, so you need a side hustle. But anyway, Jason, let's get into it. Susanna's going to kick us off with asking a couple of questions, and I'll come back and ask you a couple of questions.
Awesome, Jason. So I would just love to know your personal story. What did you do before you started organizing very, very big conferences about NFTs and Web3? And how did you actually first find out about the space, and what sparked that initial interest to get into it?
Yeah, well, I've for about the last 10 years, I've been a self-employed handyman. So, nothing at all tech related, just repairing houses and doing that sort of stuff. Yeah, I got into Bitcoin around 2017, probably in the middle of the year somewhere. So I rode that last of the bull market up, and then rode the bear market all the way down again. So, you know what I mean? Made plenty of mistakes. I know the space is pretty crazy. It's so difficult to learn if you don't have time and the people to sort of learn from. So, yeah, I've learned a lot in the last few years, that's for sure.
And would you be able to tell us in terms of Australia where you're from originally? Because you go around all the events around Australia. So where did you grow up? And yeah, I would love to find out.
Yeah, no, I've been Adelaide all my life. To be honest, I haven't travelled a lot of Australia. This is really good for me. I'm getting to experience Australia and meeting people from sort of all over the country. So it's really good.
And you did mention that this space is really hard to understand. You need some sort of like a mentor or something to understand that. Who has been your mentor, and who was like the main knowledge base for yourself? Like, where did you get all the knowledge from about all the
well,
NFTs?
I mean, I sort of followed a lot of sort of people that are big on Facebook and that. Like Trader Trav was probably one of my biggest people that I like to watch his videos and listen to him. So he was sort of quite a big influence. He does really good content, and and obviously there's a few others, Trader Cobb and all those sort of things, and just some really good traders and that. I wasn't really into all the other side of it. I was mainly trading back then, but yeah, those were the people that I sort of listened to and tried to learn from.
Of course, and my question would be, what identified that need for a conference for yourself in this space? Because obviously, like, there's nothing that when you started, there wasn't that many events happening. So why did you decide, oh, I want to do this and I want to do this full time?
Well, it sort of happened on its own, to be honest. Back in 2017, I started a Facebook group, Everything Crypto Adelaide. And it was just to facilitate, the pub meetups that happen all over the place, and go chat crypto and use each other to learn from. Typical bear market, people weren't turning up, and we'd roll up, and it'd just be the people that came in the one car together, so nobody else would show up. So I sort of went, well, how do I add value to make people go, oh, I've got to get to these meetups? So I actually spoke to Trader Trav. So he agreed to come down. We cover his flights and his accommodation. That he'd come down and we could sort of pick his brain and have a live sort of, session with him. And it just blew up. Next minute, I had more people wanting to sort of come along and present something and this and that. And look, the first one, which was in Adelaide, my hometown, was difficult because I kept chasing myself and it kept getting bigger. And then it's not a pub meetup, so I needed a venue. And it was so difficult. Whereas Brisbane straight away from day one was going to be a big conference, so I had a plan at the start, so it was much easier.
And when you say difficult, are you saying difficult from attracting people, or is it just the whole thing from event side of thing, planning? I'd like to delve into a bit that.
Oh yeah, look, all aspects of it. like I said, it wasn't meant to be a conference. It was literally a pub meetup. So I didn't need a venue. Just pick a pub and we'll go hang out there. Yeah, go hang in the beer garden or whatever and just chat crypto. And then it got bigger and I've gone, so I need a venue. Awesome. Okay, so I organised the Hilton for a reasonable cost. But then I've gone, well, then I had to chase another sponsor because I couldn't afford to pay for the venue. And then it sort of, it just kept blowing up. Then insurance, because, I was already starting to think about Brisbane and we were looking at maybe doing it in University of Queensland. And they said, you need liability insurance. So I had to go chase that. And just there was all these things that I didn't think of until they came up. I ended up registering a business to do this. So it was just another step that you don't think of when you're just going, we'll have a pub meetup. Because it got so big so quick, things kept cropping up that I had to deal with and sort out.
That's awesome. And that's one of the questions I actually do want to ask you about. You talk about, things that you've learned on the way. And then we do want to highlight, because you do have an upcoming conference, right? But you mentioned that you've learned a lot of things on the way. You didn't know about public liability. It's something that I wouldn't have considered as well. Can you share with us, what are some things that you've learned?
Well, to start with, definitely start with a plan.
You need to take notes about what to have in an event.
Yeah, the plan is key. Like I said, Adelaide, the reason it was difficult because there was no plan. Brisbane had a plan, so it was much easier. So I set out, okay, let's think about numbers attending so I can get a suitable venue, work out a budget so I know how much money I need to chase from sponsors, all those sort of things. And once you've got your complete list and you can just start ticking things off, it's so much easier. But when you're sort of, just dealing with spot fires all the time, it makes your job harder. So, yeah, the more you plan and outline at the start, the better.
Yeah. Fantastic. And what an inspirational story. You just said that it was just me, basically myself, and then you started one small event, you went into a bigger event, and now you're having even a bigger event. Is this going to be bigger than the Queensland event? And can you tell us about it?
Yeah, I believe so. Adelaide and Brisbane have both been very conference style. So basically, people on stage, speaker after speaker after speaker. And look, Adelaide, because of the planning and like I said, it got out of control. Adelaide, we walked away with quite a few things we needed to fix that didn't go right. We fixed them for Brisbane. Brisbane, I got a lot of great feedback because it was planned. Yep. But even I know, sitting in a chair for 8 hours listening to people speak is, by the end of 8 hours, mate, you're not absorbing the information and you're getting sore, you're getting tired. You just, it's not cool. So I'm actually trying convention style. So there'll be booths. So there will be still speakers on stage as well as some sort of other value-adding sort of entertainment. But, you could roll in and spend half a day there, walk around, get all the content you want and need. You've spoken to everybody you need to speak to. And, so you don't need to spend a whole day sitting in a seat. So, yeah, I think it will be good. Ticket sales are actually ahead of the curve for Perth than they were for Brisbane or Adelaide at this point in time with 2 weeks to go. So, yeah, looking good.
Amazing. The other question that there's something that Suzanne and I were actually talking before this interview itself is about the marketing and networking side of things. You're in marketing yourself, Susanna. How important do you reckon marketing is? And then I want to pass to Jason.
Oh my God. I love the fact that every single time we talk to founders or anyone like that, everyone is always like, I'm super passionate. But then the one thing that I like is marketing, and everyone learns that all the way at the end, that marketing is something that will either make you or break you. So definitely understand the importance of it. I'm still learning, and marketing is literally it's not something that you can, I would say, master, especially for NFTs, because it changes so quickly. Mm-hmm. So I would love to find out, what are your tips for marketing as well from such a pro like yourself, and networking and finding sponsors like Evie mentioned as well?
Well, I mean, marketing, obviously you've got to know your audience. I've got obviously multiple sort of sections of my audience. People that are already into crypto are sort of easier to access. You're already in the Facebook groups. You're already connected with them on Twitter and you jump in Twitter spaces and they're talking crypto, they're already in the space, and they're not so hard to access. The hardest people to market to are the people that aren't in the space yet, that you try to get along to educate and onboard. Because how do you get in front of them without spending a lot of money, newspaper or TV or radio or whatever? And we haven't got the budget for paid advertising. So that's the hard one. So I have trialed a little Facebook ads campaign for Perth. I don't know it's gone that well. It's probably not worth it, but yeah, that's the hardest.
It's something trying though, right, Jason? It's always worth trying.
You do. You gotta, throw a heap of stones out there and one or two will hit, so, definitely. You keep trying everything, coming up with new ideas to try and reach that market, and then, expand on them.
It's really interesting because we're in the bear market. There's a bit of different psychology that comes into play as well. When it's the bull market, everyone talks about crypto, everyone talks about NFTs, and it's so much easier to convince everyone because everyone's talking about how much money they made. I can only imagine, Jason, that in these type of things, because we're in the bear market, there'll be a lot of people who are quite upset or negative, and they're like kind of giving up on crypto, and they'll be like, oh, I can't. I don't want to do this. Like, it feels like a scam. And, that's why there's probably that resistance happening at the moment. But I assure you, when the bull market comes again, as you've seen yourself, Jason, the masses will come in, and it'll be exciting times. But, hats off to you for just, it started off with an idea, a dream, and now you're actually rolling it out. You're moving from one place to another. And let's dive into it. So what can our audience expect if we do turn up to Perth?
Yeah, well, we have 12 booths with projects and businesses, all doing something sort of really different. It's a really broad range of examples of what can happen in the space. We've also got our educational workshop. So we've got 5, 6, 7 people that'll sort of rotate in and out, and they're all really good in their own fields. So people can roll up to the event, and if they've got any questions or any difficulties in the space, someone will be there to actually show them, run them through it, not just watching a video or anything like that. And you can be walked through the process of whatever you're having trouble with. We have the main stage. So in the morning there'll be some speakers all doing really innovative stuff. But Be For Real is one of them. Simpler, which I don't know if you're in the Solana NFT space. I'm sure you would have heard about Simpler.
I've heard about those fellas.
Yeah, so, we've got Gravity Finance, a DeFi platform, doing some pretty crazy stuff. Then we go to having a discussion panel. And, we've got people like Magic Eden, we've got some DeFi people, we've got some tax people, so all sort of leaders in the space. I'm just going to throw some questions around and get the viewpoint of some of these people. Then we go to something else I'm trialing, the Shark Tank. Okay. So I've got the numbers vary. It started at 6, then it dropped to 4. Now I think it's up to 8 startups that are coming to pitch. I've got a couple of VCs. I've got Magic Eden for the NFT projects. I've got a tax legal advisor on the panel as well. So basically, startups have a 5-minute pitch and then answer questions from the panel. And the goal is to potentially get these startups some capital investment with the VCs on the panel. So pretty much small scale of the TV show. So, we're giving that a trial, and if the feedback is good and it works well, we'll continue on doing that. We are doing a free sausage sizzle. Got some games that you can win crypto. There'll be heaps of merch and crypto and all that sort of stuff given out. But probably the biggest thing is you need to be there to be in the Be For Real competition. The prize is house deposit.
Wow, house deposit. And is this event all free, Jason? Can anyone?
Free entry. We do not charge for tickets. Tickets are on Eventbrite, but they are free, so there's no charge. It's just to keep track of numbers so we can sort of cater. Obviously, we do have the after party, which is a $50 charge for that, but that's a separate sort of event, just a party. But yeah, you got a free ticket to get into the event, free entry to the competition, and you can win up to a $65,000 house deposit. So
that's actually pretty good. Like, you know, you're saying that there's all these booths that there, you know, you have a bit of a Shark Tank, and you've got this event that's happening where they're kind of giving a home. $65,000 is a substantial amount of money. If I had $65,000, Susanna, I think I'll take that money and put it into Ethereum or one of the other cryptos and pump it up a bit. But in regards to that, Jason, the event, it sounds very interesting. And it sounds like that it's a very intermediate where a lot of people can connect really there. And I'm super excited for this. It looks like you just keep making these events bigger and bigger. But the one thing that you've highlighted is the educational side of things.
Yep.
And I want to know from your perspective, how important is education to you? And how do you reckon people can learn from this space, especially attending your events and other events?
Oh, look, education is huge. Like, it's so dangerous out there. So many scams, so many even just accidental ways to lose your money. You know, sending, you know, something on the wrong chain with the wrong address, and that's it. You're not getting it back. So all this stuff is what I try and focus on, because, you know, I mean, it's not that difficult to sign up to CoinSpot or something like that and buy some crypto or whatever. But as soon as you want to step out of that real narrow band, it starts getting dangerous and scary. But it doesn't have to be. It is about the education. If you can get shown and you know and you understand, it's not that hard. So yeah, I remember when I first started, I set up my MetaMask. I was trying to put Polygon on MetaMask. I'm like, oh my God, this is so difficult. What am I doing here? Watching YouTube. Once you've done it, it's not hard. But my God, doing it the first time. And this is what I want to take away. I want to take away that scariness by educating. The other education that happens at my events is, and I've always said it, there's clear circles within the Web3 space. You know, you've got your NFT degens, you've got your DeFi lovers, you've got your traders. Not one of them knows what's happening in the other circles. And you know, I'm in all three. I love all of those aspects of Web3. And the times I've shown NFT people some of the things that can happen in DeFi, or DeFi people like some awesome utilities in NFTs and all that sort of stuff, and it blows their mind. So I want Web3 to be one community and not all these separate circles. So that's another form of education we give.
Oh, I love your energy, man. I can see the passion in your face there, and you know the language that you're using there as well. That unity, that community. It's so important, so important. Susanna, do you have a question for Jason, or I'm going to keep firing away? I feel like I talk a lot.
No, that's okay. I would love to be educated about the process of actually planning this sort of an event. How long ago do you planning in advance? Also, do you use anything specific because you need to keep track of all the people that will be sponsoring speakers? Any tools that you can elaborate on? Anything?
Yeah, look, obviously the first things you need to lock in are the date and the venue, because you can't have one without the other. Yeah. So you know, you pencil in a date, then I'll start talking to venues, and that date may need to be adjusted based on the venue, you know, availability. But once you've got the venue and the date locked in, then it's all go. Then you can start hitting, like, obviously you need your sponsors to start with. You know, once you're sort of looking funded well enough, then you can start locking in presenters or projects that come along. You know, work out what other sort of side things you have the budget for. For instance, like my sausage sizzle or the giveaways or whatever else you need to spend money on. You know, you've got your budget laid out. Yeah, and then the hardest part is to market for attendees. So yeah, it's that to me has always been the hardest bit. I've always managed to sort of get a really good lineup of speakers and projects, but making sure people roll up on the day. I actually compare this to, I've said it a few times, no way would I want to be a project founder, because, you know, that stress and that leading up to mint and all that, you know, and I sort of had a think, oh, well, hang on, I basically mint a project every 3 months. And the difference is, if a project doesn't mint out on day one, they go, oh, that's fine. We've got tomorrow, we got the next day, we can keep minting. I can't do that. I literally need to mint out on one day. It's pretty difficult sometimes.
But it becomes easier, doesn't it, Jason, with experience? The more you do this, and you've taught, you've walked us through, how to create one, what to do. And I guess with even the sponsor side of things, when the sponsors, from my limited knowledge, when the sponsors see other sponsors coming in, they're like, oh, okay, we can trust this guy. This guy's credible. Does it become easier?
It does. It really does. Even just getting your lineup put together. So many more people. Your network is built up between events. But when I did Adelaide, I knew nobody. It was a lot of work, grinding away, trying to find sort of, people to present and this and that. Whereas when I come along to Brisbane, I knew so many people. I already had people sort of contacting me. And now I found the same with Perth. People are reaching out to me because
Fantastic.
Obviously I've got the network. Other people are spreading the word about what I'm doing, which helps access the people I need to talk to. Network is a huge thing, and it does get easier the bigger your network gets. As far as sponsors, same thing. You've done a couple of events. You've shown that you're not just going to run with the money or whatever else, and they're happy to sort of invest that time and money into your events because you've got a track record. Yes, in all aspects, it gets easier as you go along. The more events you do.
And from a sponsor side of things, what is their expectation from you? Like, do you have to give them a pitch deck? What questions do they ask you, Jason? Like, how do you go about it?
Well, it depends. See, for instance, this time, normally I release packages.
Okay.
So for Brisbane, I had tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, all having different dollar figures and different sort of what they're entitled to and what to expect in return. So that worked well, but because there were so many slots, I was trying to keep it cheaper. Yeah. Even down to the wire, I was still chasing the last few just to top up the funds to cover the costs. This time, I actually got approached by FTT DAO. Now, they are a non-profit based in Hong Kong. Really? Basically, while they're not affiliated with FTX, because FTT being the FTX native token, basically they're called FTT DAO because they all like FTX, use FTX, like what it does for the sort of education of the community. So they're basically funded by some wealthy sort of donors, I suppose you'd call it, and they use those funds to go around and sponsor and put on educational events. So they're already all through Asia and a fair bit through Africa. And they wanted to get into Australia. So they spoke to Jamie Kennedy from FTX Australia and said, who we want to get into Australia, who do we need to sort of talk to? And thankfully, Jamie sort of mentioned me. So, they came on board and they pretty much funded the entire thing for me after, back and forth. I had to show my budget and prove where it was going and all that. And we came up with the figure that I could put the event on for, and they funded me. So took a lot of pressure off because I wasn't trying to chase 10 different people to help fund this event. I've really got very grateful to FTT DAO. And of course, Be For Real have been my sort of major sponsor the whole way through for all my events. So they've been fantastic. So yeah, they're the ones doing.
How did you meet those fellas?
Well, funnily enough, again, leading up to Adelaide, and to be honest, that's so long ago, and I don't even remember how we initially made contact, but I actually came across a message I sent to someone else a while back when I mentioned, and I'm talking to this Be For Real mob. I'm not sure exactly what they do yet, but I've got a call teed up with them. And I actually screenshot that and sent it to, because I've now become quite good friends with the Be For Real guys. Yeah. And sent that to him. I said, oh, wow, that was a way back. That was April. So, and he's like, I think you know what we do now. So, yeah, pretty cool stuff that they do.
Awesome, awesome. Susanna, I have an idea for your wedding. You can make it a crypto theme, right? And we can get FTT down to basically say this is an educational wedding to get it.
Would love a sponsor like that. That would be great.
Sponsor for the wedding, right? And then Be For Real can give you your house mortgage as well. Bang!
Wow.
We've got a free wedding, free house. Let's look into it. Let's delve into it. Anyway, sorry guys.
I'll connect you.
What a problem solver! I love this. I love this. Just to show you the power of networking, honestly.
100%, 100%. This coming back to the networking side of things, it's terrific to hear that that the people that you meet in a very short period of time can actually help you connect to all these other projects out there. You've mentioned about James, and then you mentioned about how these guys that you just met them somewhere in space, and look where it's developed to. That's really cool, Jason. That's really cool. In regards to the event, the conference itself, once you complete this conference, is there ongoing conference coming up? Like, are you doing all around Australia? Where is this all leading to?
Well, obviously we have Perth in 2 weeks. We're looking at late Feb for Melbourne, so we're coming your way. Then Sydney will be late April. Now those dates I've got penciled in dates, but they are not locked in, again pending getting a venue sorted, and it may need to adjust. But yeah, that's what I'm looking at. As for the future, once I've done this tour of duty, look, I'm more than happy to make this go as long and as big as sponsors allow. Basically, if people keep paying for these events, I'm happy to keep building them and making them bigger. And I've got so many ideas. It just comes down to funding.
Susanna, this is what I'm loving. Every person that we've interviewed together, they've just been so transparent in every single sense. And Jason, thank you for being so open. You're not saying, hey, I'm doing this and I'm doing this. You're talking about budgets here. You're talking about funding. You're teaching people. And that's something that I really value. And I've took away a lot of things from this myself. What I think the importance of planning an event is definitely the key takeaway from me, Jason. So I really appreciate it. Before I sum this interview up, Susanna, do you have any last questions? If not, I'm going to pass to Jason, and I'd love to hear your closing thoughts, Jason, and also the last summary of the whole conference itself, if you can remind us. But I'll go to Susanna first.
Of course, no problem. I actually have a question from the mental well-being and mental health, and I would like to find out, what do you do to balance everything? You seem like a very busy person, and like you said before, a couple of moments ago, for you, it's like a mint every 3 months, which is a tremendously stressful process. So I would like to see what are your tips on how to balance everything and still stay focused and motivated and everything.
Short answer, I don't. Look, obviously, I make no money out of these events. So basically, for me, it's a bit of a pendulum swinging. I need to do my day job to pay my bills, etc. So I swing back and forth. I start neglecting my day job, focusing on getting this conference sorted, not doing as much paid work. Then all of a sudden the accounts are looking pretty dry. So I've got to swing the pendulum back, like, I've got to start smashing out the paid work. That's when I sort of go a little bit quiet on the spaces and this like that, because I'm working so hard at my day job, catch up on the bills, and then it's back to sort of grinding for the Web3 and probably neglecting the day job a little bit. As far as probably the most important thing is the family. Look, they do get neglected at times, especially in that last lead up to an event where it's just, I've really got to be pushing hard. But luckily they do understand and support what I do. Just they know where I want this to go and how big I want it to be, and while I get no financial reward from the events, the network has already shown value to me. The people I've connected with, the concepts and the ideas that I've sort of come up with, my reward will come later. Whether it be working in a Web3 job or some other project that I can monetize or whatever. But yeah, there's no balance. It is just back and forth.
Thank you so much for your honesty. I love you. Thank you.
I love the fact that you touched on based on family. Family is so important, you know, and I'm so glad that you're kind of prioritizing from your work to your family to the conference side of things. Jason, I can't wait to see your upcoming future events. You know, with this passion, my friend, and with this drive, I will definitely see you in bigger events to come, man. I absolutely love it. For the last bit, as I said, I want to know your closing thoughts, and if you can just summarize quickly for our audience on the event, and then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, no problems. Well, look, basically, the event's just about education and showing all the awesome stuff happening in Australia, because we punch well above our weight. I think Australian innovation is huge, and it keeps blowing my mind, because I'm still meeting people and projects with ideas and what they're doing, and it still blows my mind. Look, we have a bit of a niche market. We're bigger than the pub meetups. We're not as big as the big Gold Coast Convention or NFT Fest. We feel that happy medium. So, you know, obviously the big events, everyone's flying in from everywhere to go attend, which is great, because I've been to the Gold Coast Convention. I am going to NFT Fest, and you can't miss some events. Ours are bringing those events to you. And that's what we're trying to do. You don't need to get on a plane and fly there. We come to you. So yeah, just come along, get educated. You will learn something, no matter how much you already know. And yeah, prepare to have your mind blown.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Jason. I'm looking forward to your event. And if you're coming down to Melbourne, we'll definitely catch up. Susanna and I are from Melbourne ourselves. There's so many events happening in Australia. And, you know, as I said earlier, your events are just going to become bigger and better, my friend. Thank you for this interview. I hope you enjoyed it, because we surely did. And that is it, guys. That is it from the Bread Brothers. We will see you next week for another episode and another guest. See you later, guys. Ciao. Bye.
See ya.